With the order, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Today is the 22nd, and can I have a roll call?
Aaron? Caperos?
Here.
Whaling?
Here.
Coleman?
Here.
Basil?
Here.
Meyer? Here.
And the minutes of the previous meeting, which is June 8th. Any changes, corrections, additions? If not, is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion on the floor, and there was a second. Any questions to the motion? Roll call.
Caperos?
Yes.
Whaling?
Yes.
Coleman?
Yes.
Basil?
Yes.
Meyer? Yes.
Clerk's report.
The total tax income received since the last report, which there's a number of these that there were 2 months worth of tax collected since I provided this report the last time. $636,117.03, and you'll see we're getting our real estate tax money in from the county right now. And I want to find out when the board was going to ride in the 4th of July parade.
Ride or walk?
Ride, walk.
What's that?
We go through this every year. Walk? Let's walk.
Yeah, that's what I said.
We have candy to hand out.
Yeah, candy, so you
We'll
have to
have,
walk.
we'll have a vehicle. So
Hummer?
if you wanna ride or walk, you know, it's up to you guys.
Are you driving?
I will be in it, it's
Of course.
just temperature dependent as to whether I walk or ride.
Yeah, we'll have a vehicle.
I think the
You
vehicle
don't
we
like
have
sticking
planned
to
is
the
have air
road, you know,
conditioning.
when you're
The Hummer. Yeah,
a Hummer?
might be better off walking, sitting in that thing.
No, we'll take the newer one.
There's no air.
I could drive the Atmobile.
Here.
again.
There's the air.
I'm in the sun regardless, I don't care.
Okay, so how many are you gonna be there? Everybody?
I'm dependent on my baseball team. So if we win the championship, the kids are in the parade, I'll have to be with my kids, but we don't, undefeated, so.
I had a feeling that was the case.
You should be in it either way.
Okay, we'll do it.
I'll be in it, one way or another, just
I think you should be in it with your team.
Either I'll be babysitting a dozen kids, or I'll be walking with you guys.
Yeah, babysitting us.
Yeah, okay.
I didn't hear, so.
Frank, what'd you say?
Yes.
Ron?
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, all right,
I have one question, is income tax 2 months, Jeanette, or is that 1 month? Because everything else seemed to be 2 months.
That was 1 month.
That was 1 month, wow.
Yeah, because they didn't pay us last month.
Okay.
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 Is there any from the audience wish to address the board?
Yes, Mrs. Dodd from the Sierra Club.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
I'll stay seated if that's okay, unless you want me to stand. So I'm Erica, I'm from the Sierra Club. I've been working in Will County for about a year now with residents and farmers and business owners affected by the Ileana Highway. You guys have probably been hearing in the news that there's been a lot of changes ongoing with everything. It looks like in your agenda you might talk a little bit about that further. So Ronner has removed the Ileana from IDOT's multi-year plan. They've ceased all construction, all acquisitions for basically essentially that's for the next 5 years. We are in limbo, that means. ELBC, Sierra Club, and Open Lands, also the Madeiran Heritage Association, we just won a lawsuit against the Tier 1. It ruled that the final EIS and record of decision was arbitrary and capricious and in violation of federal law. Addition to that, and I have this for you today, I have a lot of handouts, so I'll start passing them out. And I won't take that much time, so I'm also going to make sure I tell you that. So we have this Cranes report that also shows that TIFIA loan funds that were claimed to be available for, can you pass them around, please? I'll pass these around. Spider here. So Cranes revealed the secret state study against that showed that the Ileana would not be eligible for TIFIA loan funds from the federal government. And as I understand it, Village Beecher has passed a resolution in favor of the Ileana so long as it's financially feasible. I think all three of these things show that it's not financially feasible at this point, and what I wanted to let you know is that all of the townships and villages and cities along the pathway of the Ileana have been passing resolutions opposing the Ileana tollway, but also requesting the Federal Highway Administration that they rescind the record of decision. And a lot of the reasons some of the townships and cities and villages are coming on board at this point is because they don't want this to be another Peatone airport. We've seen what this has done to others in the pathway, being held hostage by this decision coming through. We know Larry Walsh also has at least gone on record saying that he doesn't want the residents to be in limbo. And then I'm gonna for all of you, because this wasn't gonna show up. So here's all the resolutions that we have so far. Washington Township, and I can't give you a copy of this, they just passed theirs tonight. They held a special meeting to get their resolution passed. City of Peatone is right now held a special meeting. They're going to pass their resolution tonight. Eagle Creek in Indiana is also passing their resolution. They've already workshopped it, and that's happening tonight. So right now, I'm just approaching the village of Beecher, letting you know what's going on, making sure that you guys are up to date, and also you guys are going to be the last holdouts on this. Wanting to make sure you guys are starting to have this conversation and stand united with us on this. Having a united front gives us a little bit more push for vying for alternatives. So what we've been looking is we want the traffic to go north and west. We don't want this heavy truck traffic over here in your guys' area in this corridor route. We want them to be looking towards the lane expansions on 980. We're looking at I-55, the Holboat Bridge. And there's new financial avenues opening up for those now that the Ileana is not on the table. And if we can work together in the corridor, looking for alternatives that are actually favoring the residents, favoring you guys, what you guys want, we have some exciting things that we can start working towards. So we're hoping that you guys will really seriously consider passing a resolution. You'll see also the individual letters that have been sent by agencies like the Farm Bureau and the Water and Soil. They've passed policies and also sent letters to the Federal Highway Administration. So, Ileana seems to be just about dead at this point, but we want to make sure that there's not this limbo phase for people.
Couple questions for you. Why wouldn't you take up a cause for the airport as well? It's the same thing that these people have been in limbo for even longer, so why wouldn't you take up that cause?
So Sierra Club actually is my organization I work with. We are against the airport. I know some of the organizations, and have you guys passed a resolution about against the airport? That's great to hear. We definitely are in support of that. Ileana seemed like the project and the way it was heading, especially for Sierra Club and what our original interests were, was the Madera National Tallgrass Prairie. Probably doesn't interest you guys in this room, but that's one of the skin of the games that we have. I personally am from Kankakee. I care about Centennial farmers. I have Centennial farmland in my family. I'm frustrated by the ways that this is going to pave over small businesses and farmers in this area, right in my backyard where I grew up. But I also do care about the conservation impacts. So we did focus on the Ileana. Obviously, we want the Peatone Airport gone as well.
And the other thing is in the resolution that we passed was in favor of the Ileana Expressway, provided that all the criteria was met. So if the environmental impact proved negative towards that, then we would say, no, it shouldn't be built. If the financial aspect fell on the taxpayers of the village, we said, no, it should not be built. In the conversations that I've had in meetings, basically I've asked Governor Rotter to make a decision one way or the other. If you're gonna build it, build it. If you're not, let the people move on with their lives, which is the same thing with the airport, which that's what you indicated. The point I'm trying to get at is what you're asking us to do, in my opinion, we've already done, but certainly we can take it under advisement tonight. And if anybody else has any questions.
Yeah, I got a couple of comments. One, I can tell you right now, I would not be in favor of this resolution. The biggest reason being, as you said, you're from Kankakee. Me as a village trustee, my number one responsibility is to serve the constituents of my village. And in 2014, we did a village survey, of which 65% of the residents were in favor of the Ileana.
Which year was that? I'm sorry.
2014,
2001.
11.
11?
2011.
2011.
Okay, and that's where my responsibilities, I feel, is that I'm here, yeah, it was 2001. That's who I'm here to represent. I'm not here to represent somebody from Kankakee, no offense, or somebody from Wilmington. What Wilmington has done, or Peatone has done, or wherever in Indiana you said has done, those residents and their opinions are not of my concern. My concern is the village of Beecher residents.
Of course, so you want to hear from your constituents.
My constituents have told us that 65% of them are in favor of it.
In 2011.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
So, as of right now, I can tell you that based on that, I wouldn't be in favor of it. And then my other concern is that recently, over the past how many years, or past year or so, we've had many fatalities of accidents right here on Route 1. Very close to the village limits, actually between Goodenow and here, of which I knew one. And that would be my next concern is, what's the Sierra Club's plan for that traffic? In the direction that, with these trucks, if that Ileana comes in, the hope is that there's a bypass, which would move a lot of the trucks out of our village. And right now, I only see them increasing.
Unfortunately, again, if the Ileana isn't built, something's gonna get built somewhere. So if it's not built here, it's gonna get built somewhere else because the traffic is in fact increasing. All you gotta do is go on I-80 for an east-west corridor and see that. So, yeah, Ileana may not get built, but either they're gonna widen roads, like you said, they're gonna widen the existing expressways. So someone else is gonna be impacted by something sometime in the future. So whether this was right or wrong, it's a sad thing that two agencies got into a fighting match over the statistics. And bottom line is, in my opinion, the ace in the hole that I had in my mind was a private company won't invest something that they think won't get built. So the private company is where I was hoping that statistics would finally come out and say yes or no. But in the meantime, a lot of things have happened, which, like I said, they took another look at it, and now the environmental impact was kicked out. That's, again, just my thoughts. Anybody else?
No, and I would have to say, I agree with you, Jonathan, we have to represent our voters here. We actually had plans to do another survey this year. Unfortunately, our funding was cut for that. So we were not able to do another survey to find out if our residents had changed their mind. But outside of that, I would have to say that they voted in favor of it then. And I have to honestly say too, since we went on record as saying that we were in favor if and only if this, and this happened, and those things have gone away, by default, we're really no longer in favor of it. So I don't see, so I don't see any reason to revisit that, to be honest.
I have a question. You said that the city of Wilmington passed a resolution in opposition to the Ileana Expressway.
So the city of Wilmington is, they are actually pretty unique in the ways that they've approached it. So they're sort of leaving it a little bit up in the air, except that they have asked the Federal Highway Administration to send the rod. So their approach has been more that we don't want this to be in a limbo phase for the residents. And I think that's a really powerful statement as well, that we see as working united with us. And to just reiterate what the alternatives that we're seeking, again, we're looking towards and working with Larry Walsh and with other folks in this area to really start looking towards moving that traffic north and west. So the safety concerns are so precedent. And I understand, I'm approaching the village of Beecher. I'm sorry if you guys don't want to join us. You will be the only ones that won't join us.
Well, again, it's not, your points are very well taken, but just like Trustee Meyer said, we feel that because if it doesn't meet the criteria, that's what our resolution says. If it doesn't meet the criteria, it should be built. So
Here's what Wilmington said in the resolution. That a final decision must be made as to whether the Ileana Expressway will timely proceed or whether the Ileana Expressway as currently proposed shall be withdrawn as a transportation goal and the record of decision vacated. further, the planning and construction for Illinois 129 and I-55 interchange must be expedited. I don't know if that says they're opposed to it, what they passed.
Yeah, I don't think it does necessarily either. I think it
I mean,
really
we can agree with that
indicates-
language right there. I mean, what it says is, make a timely decision. It doesn't say we're for or against it, make a timely decision.
Okay,
And we don't want another airport. I mean, that's been
Yeah.
going on out there for 30 years, those people have been putting up with that out there.
yeah.
And they're no closer now than they were in 1990.
Yeah. And I've, obviously coming out with that sort of statement is also very powerful and strong because we know where we are politically with this, right?
And I find it ironic too that the village of Elwood passed a resolution against the Ileana. They're the cause of half of this truck traffic to begin with. They're the ones that built Center Point and more.
Trustee David?
I mean, the accidents on Route 1 are pretty bad. I mean, the traffic is increasing, you can tell, since I moved there.
Yeah, I kind of agree with Frank, yeah.
Well, you know, we're sitting here and I counted, I don't know if you guys heard the semis going by. But, you know, this is 7:15 at night and these trucks are still going. And I think that's what a lot of the residents are concerned about, is all the truck traffic coming through. And I don't know if doing anything north would, either, they're still gonna make the cut through here, so.
I'm just saying, something's gonna get built somewhere, sometime.
And we're unique because we're in that path. Those other towns are not. Wilmington, and they have an expressway.
Frank?
Well, I used to be a village trustee, and a few points to understand is the framework of the villages, and the two trustees and the village president has made this comment, the framework of the ordinance that was passed concerning this, or the resolution, was the way it was phrased. And it's not for or against, it's for if certain things come into play. So if every one of the municipalities you're talking about had the same structure or framework in their resolution, and then they decided to say, well, we're against it, well, that's just zeroing out paperwork. The paperwork already dictates the position of the village if the items don't come into play. So, as the village board has indicated, if the things don't come into play, it's pretty much they're against it until it gets resolved. And as the administrator, Mr. Barber, had stated, Wilmington, which is one of the key endpoints, has stated they're not for or against, just make a decision. We've been all under that situation on everything that goes on with the state government. We've been fighting that all along with incorrect budgets that are just killing the state all along. But if you really want to think about something, as Mr. Barber indicated earlier, you know, the airport's been in place since the 1960s. Sierra Club's never even looked at that. Believe it or not, 1960s, the same area has been under scrutiny by the state, and they've never done anything until lately. And those residents and houses have been leveled. Good houses in good condition, not even ready for foreclosure, have been left to literally go to the ground, to the point where they put a wrecking ball through these houses. But Sierra Club's never mentioned one thing. So
you haven't mentioned anything? Is that what you're saying about
I've not heard you guys come to the village board when I was on the board for 8 years about that airport. Prior to being on the village board, I was at every one of IDOT's meetings. I've not heard one person from Sierra Club come to this board or at any of those meetings against that airport. And that airport's swallowing up more land and affecting the school district of Beecher than anywhere else.
I will say that Sierra Club is on record and did fight it from the initial onslaught with the Peatone Airport. Just because we're not coming to meetings, you guys don't come to our meetings all the time either. We are against the Peatone Airport, and you should know that.
Have you read the village's ordinance?
I haven't personally read the ordinance, but I'm part of a big organization
But
that
I
has
mean,
only been working on the Ileana.
You're looking at the ordinances that the other villages have done and come to this village and said, here's the things that aren't going right, you guys should get with us and be against this. But if you look at the structure of the ordinance, it states, if this doesn't come into play, we're not for it. And the 3 items that the village president has indicated, evidently 2 of them are going down, which is you've indicated yourself. So if you read it, they're against it as long as those 3 items don't come into play. It clearly states it.
And that was actually my point, is it's kind of a terminology thing. If this, and this don't happen, we're no longer in favor of it. So by default, we're no longer in favor of it, and to me, it just didn't make sense to go and change a resolution for something that doesn't really need to be changed.
I'd say one other thing to add on to why I feel the way I do about representing our residents. In that same survey, 70% were opposed to the airport, and 65 were in favor of the Ileana. That's, to me, a very strong statement that it's not just an anti-growth thought or anything like that. People have seen, and in this village, know what the airport is about and can be about, and at the same time, are intrigued by the viability of the Ileana and what it could bring to this village. And the possible relief of traffic and the possibility of, you know, that being right here, and the accessibility. That is where I have a big problem, is if those numbers were both, you know what I mean, reflected each other, the airport and the Ileana, I would understand that, but they're complete opposite. 65% on that survey said yes, they're in favor of the Ileana, and 69% said they oppose the airport. So.
I don't think, my issue being here is not the resolution, not a piece of paper. I was hoping that you are aware of the changes that have been happening and the information. There's some good reasons not to have the Ileana or a tollway as opposed to an expressway or that location. I know they and No Ileana for Us and IDOT have other options, maybe. I think the way they had it planned is gonna cut the south part of this town to pieces. I mean, I live out on South Side, it's gonna be
South part of the town or the south part of
the
the
south part
township?
of your county, your township.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
not the village.
No, but
Wouldn't cut apart
But
the
when you
south
go
side of the
running off the
village.
low, there are certain ways you're not gonna get there anymore,
Okay,
you
but
know.
as I said, our
It's not, I'm
concern
not
is
arguing that either.
village
I'm not
residents.
I'm
Village
here,
resident.
I'm here because
No,
Where you
she's
live?
not, she's in township.
She lives in Washington
She's
Township.
lives in Washington
She doesn't live
Township.
within the village.
Before we,
Right.
Before we get in an argument over this,
this,
okay?
I'm not
Before-
arguing.
No,
about it.
that's what I'm saying, we are starting to get into an argument here, and I think enough has been said. We've made our point, as far as the resolution is concerned, they can take it under advisement. We can't vote on anything, you know, tonight anyways, okay? And as far as, just lost my train of thought, I think enough has been said before we get on. As far as anything else is concerned, again, they can take it under advisement, and we can go from there.
Well, and I respect.
What I would be concerned about is, I don't think it violates this village board's policy to adopt a resolution similar to Wilmington's. But to say that Wilmington is opposed to the Ileana would not be a true statement, because it doesn't say that. You know, I mean, they say make a decision, timely decision on the expressway, either kill it or build it, is what basically they're saying. Don't keep it in limbo. So I would be afraid of passing a resolution like Wilmington's and then having somebody misrepresent our position and say we're opposed. That's not what this says. It's not what Wilmington said. I talked to Wilmington's administrator. He said, no, we want this thing either to go away or to be built. It can't be a project like the airport that's going on forever.
And I don't think there's any-
I appreciate that, because I think that's a really important clarification from the other resolutions, because that's something that I think is powerful, and it's interesting that they decided to take that initial step to put that on record.
Okay. Anyone else from the audience want to address the board?
If I could,
Sure,
and I'm gonna sit as well, if that's okay.
sure. Can you state your name, please?
Stacy Mazurk, and I'm from 510 Dunbar. It is actually, I believe, for Public Works. I just have a question regarding tree removal. We do have a tree in our yard that was marked last fall to be removed. And I'm just wondering if there's any type of timeline, if we know when this might be happening. It is dead, so with the severe weather we've been having, I've been a little concerned. Not trying to rush it, I'm just wondering if we have a timeline.
Is there a white X on the tree?
There is.
Probably not till after the 4th at this point.
Okay, that's fine. I was just
Yeah.
curious and wondering kind of what was going on. We've had so many
we
odd
have-
weather storms and.
We have an inventory of 400 ash trees right now.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that we've probably getting close to 100 being removed, we have 300 to go.
Okay,
And it's a matter of dollars and cents in time,
understandably.
because they all
so.
die at once.
Understandably, so there has been a lot of, and a lot of X's
I
that
don't wanna
went
speak
up.
for Bud, but do you have an idea, are you gonna try to get all these wet X trees by?
Bob, I'm not even sure, where do you live at?
510 Dunbar?
A couple things we have to take into, consideration, the size of the tree, if they're big enough that we can take them down, we have a hit list that we take down, they start on the south and work our way. Then there's trees that require a private, company that will come in and take it down, cause we're unable to do that. And then those are based on, safety, of course, first, last, and always, and then priority, and we only have so much money that we allocate to do that. Now, they upped, a couple $1,000s this year, and I know they've been working their way back this, I'm surprised, I'd have to go and look and see which one it is on Dunbar. But I know they just got through removing like 2 or 3 on Elliott and on Dunbar with a contractor. So they are working we have been working our way back. And of course, if by some weird chance that, like when these, the storms takes it down, cracks it down or something happens like that, we will be over there immediately and then it would come down
Okay.
that
Yeah,
quickly.
like I said, no, I mean, no problem, I was just curious and wondering on
No,
timeline. I didn't know
it's-
if I should maybe try to look into trimming it.
No,
you
that's,
know.
no, we,
Can we try calling the village hall about this yet?
No, I intended
call the
on
village hall.
coming tonight, because I noticed that there was something about trees.
Yeah,
in
we'll
there
make
that
sure
needed
that you're on the
some-
list. And
Okay.
try to get to it.
Sounds good, thank you very much.
Anyone else? I just remember my train of thought. In any of the meetings that we went to, the state of Illinois, with the trying to align the expressway, was moving it so that they wouldn't cut farms in half. And again, if it's gonna go somewhere, it's gonna affect somebody, so. that
Oh,
was
I
what
know,
was
I know
trying to
they
do.
were on it. I've been to a lot of all these different meetings too. And in a lot of the other meetings, the No Illinois for Us and, not anything but IDOT, the airport would come up too.
Yeah, right.
And a lot of those groups are getting stronger about that whole thing too. And I think, don't wanna be hostage anymore to that.
I don't think anybody has disagreed.
And there's some information in some of these that I've read about what they could do with the land and things,
Probably save the budget in the state of Illinois, but they sell the land.
Right, or someone could be paid taxes on it, they've got it for free now.
Right.
But that sort of stuff, there's some pretty nifty ideas in some of the papers that they and other people have put out. And I just wanted to know that they're here.
And thank you, I appreciate that I'm the wrong audience, wrong person for this, and
No, you're not.
I'll definitely try to
You're
get some constituents for you guys to hear from.
All right, with that, finance and administration, trustee Mayor.
Considering an ordinance establishing a prevailing rate of wage for fiscal year 2015-16, and this is an annual formality required by state law. Do you have anything else to say on that one, Bob? I know we do this every year.
Every year, it's just, all we do is change numbers.
Okay,
1226.
1226. I make a motion to adopt ordinance number 1226.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor, and there was a second. Any questions or motion? Roll call.
Meyer,
Yes.
Basil,
Yes.
Coleman,
Yes.
Whaler,
Yes.
DeForest.
Yes.
The village audit is set to begin on July 9th, and field auditors will be visiting Village Hall on the 9th and 10th to begin reviewing documents pertaining to the fiscal year 2014 and 15 audit. And that ends my report.
Thank you. Public buildings and properties, parks and recreation.
Okay, everybody knows about my due-to account, that the parks owe the general fund, so we added some more money to that. And we've actually paid over $10,000 in the last, since 2011. And the way that we get money at the park impact fees is during building and also building permits. That's like an impact fee. And of course, everybody knows over the last 9 years that dried up. So we used other financing for that OSLED grant. That's what we did the Fireman's Park with. So that is being paid back. It's very slow, but it's getting there, and hopefully that pace will pick up a little bit. Fireman's Ball Field lighting project is done. And I know Buddy's gonna probably be there at night sometime, during a game. I know Jonathan's been down there, and it sounds like it's a good a very good thing, a good,
We have one light to adjust, that's about it.
okay. So, that came a long way in a short period of time. I know that we were
I
talking,
wouldn't say a short period of time.
well,
Well, we wanna
Once we
get
had the
the,
money, it was a short period.
Right.
we wanna get the grant spent before the door really slams shut.
Right.
We've been told, get the project done, get the paperwork in.
but we were talking even a year ago, you know, that this project was gonna cost a lot of money. And with the way the village put everything together with grants and everything else, it was very, what do I wanna say, we saved a lot of money, you know, in this. So if you're down there, yeah, I'm sure you'll see it during the 4th of July celebration, the lights and everything else. Fireman's 2 scoreboard update. That is done, it's up, it's operating, and everybody should be happy. So we have 3 scoreboards down there. We have one in the north field, that's Fireman's 3, Fireman's 2, and then Fireman's 1. So all the ball fields in Fireman's Park has a scoreboard, and that's with help from Beecher Rec and also the village and the maintenance group. So I want to thank everybody involved with that. Wildenstadt Park, I know Buddy's been busy with that as well. I know that we had a bunch of people saying that it was unplayable and so forth. And Buddy, I think you have the 2 fields on the north side.
We've worked on every one of those fields. I wanna say probably the hardest one was really the one that had the clay on it, his grass infield.
Okay.
I'm not sure what future and the direction do you wanna go through, but I would like to form some sort of committee so that we could get some direction. And because even talking to the guys in the department, they're sitting there thinking that, why don't we just get rid of the clay and throw down grass all the way through? I mean, there's a couple other different options. I'd like to put a 4-foot fence out around there, and I don't see that costing a lot of money to get done.
You're talking about the outfields.
Yes,
right?
and the fields, believe it or not, since we have been rolling them every year, the outfields, act of God, whatever you want to call it, I mean, they seem to be coming along pretty well. Jonathan, you've been out there with your practice guys, right?
They need to be mowed more.
I mean, well,
They're,
I mean,
you wouldn't wanna use them for a game because there is still a lot of.
right, there's dips and valleys, but
Yeah,
there's
it's-
some things that
I
can
mean, not
be
dips and
done.
valleys, just big holes. But I mean, listen, what was done to it was, I mean, a huge difference. I mean, so kudos to you guys. It's, you know,
Well-
they are what they are. They're practice fields.
And you know what, and they're out there practicing. When I come in at 7 o'clock, they're out there practicing. I would like to see them, you know, if we're gonna put the effort into it, I'd like to be, you know, let's do it and do it the right way, and then maybe you build the dream, you know, field of dreams. You know, maybe you'll be able to utilize them a little more.
It is on our wish list as far as any request that we have for parks, funds or anything like that, that is on our wish list that we have. And as far as a committee, you have your parks committee.
Right.
Well,
If I remember right, wasn't it designed to put a concession stand?
Yeah, it was.
It's already designed for a concession stand right in the middle.
Bleachers and everything else.
It has
Waters. Water, sewer, everything is out there. I mean, there's
All the infrastructure, no cosmetic.
Right. And you know, Buddy brought up, I was talking to Buddy last week, and he brought up a good idea too, to put an outfield fence up, especially that backs, you know, the fields that go toward the pond. You know, because that would stop anybody from running, and I don't know if anybody could ever hit it that far, but it would stop people from going in or balls going into the pond. So those are things that we're looking at. Thanks, Buddy.
thank you.
Buddy Bunch, Buddy Bench update. Okay, we have 10 new benches. I met with Kayla this morning, and Buddy came up with a map, so we're gonna have those put in. There's a volunteer going to be installing those, because I know the Buddy's team is has a full plate. So that's in the process. You'll see Buddy benches popping up throughout the community. So, and that concludes my report.
And continue on.
Okay, planning, building, and zoning. Building department monthly reports are enclosed for your review. The Ileana Expressway project, we just talked about, so we don't need to hit that. Consider an application for community planning program and local technical assistance program funds for the completion of a comprehensive land use plan for the village of Beecher. Bob, you wanna say anything about that?
Yeah, we discussed this before, and there were some concerns about CMAP providing their staff assistance to us in developing this plan because they are more urban oriented. We have a very rural atmosphere out here, and there seemed to be a culture clash. Like, TOD would not work out here, transit-oriented development, because we don't have any transit. So there was concerns, do you want CMAP involved in the land use plan? Because we're so different than an inner-ring suburb. That being said, I don't see any other sources of funding that you're gonna find for this grant other than your own. For this land use plan.
Mm-hmm.
The other problem we have with this land use plan is every time we get ready to do a plan, something changes. A year ago, we were told Ileana is going to be built, no doubt about it. Now, a year later, it's dead. How do you plan when stuff like that happens? It's just very difficult. The airport's the same way. We've been dealing, this would be my third redraft of our land use plan, including an airport. Third. And still not off the ground. So, it's up to the village board what they want to do. Our last update was in '07. So it's about 8 years old now. And I'm kind of looking for something for the planning commission to do, because it's been pretty quiet. But that's entirely up to this village board, whether or not you want to redo that plan or not.
This comprehensive plan, it went all the way to the county line,
Yes.
the last one we did.
The last one goes down to the county line. It included a Beecher bypass, but it did not include it in the Expressway, because in '07, it wasn't even on the drawing board.
Right.
In fact, everyone thought it was going north. Somewhere between Creek and Beecher.
Mhm.
So, I don't know. It's entirely up to this board if you think we should update our land use plan or leave the one we have in place.
The land use going north went up to Goodnow Road, isn't that what we talked about?
Yes, we went to Offner, I believe.
Offner,
The
we went
township
to the
line.
school district,
Mhm.
okay.
And to tell you the truth, with the Ileana on such a fast track that it was, I was really pushing hard to get a land use plan done because it was going to drastically affect how this area developed. But now with it being dead, the '07 plan probably still pretty valid because it shows everything going north and west toward the airport.
What was the final cost from Tesca gonna be on that?
$39,000.
I have an opinion on it, would be, with CMAP and the things you've said, being involved in it, at a price of $39,000 to update our land use plan, if it's something we need to do, then if it's not, obviously there's no hurry with the Ileana being on hold. I'd rather do it and have a say in who does it for us than have CMAP come in and say, this is who you're using, these are our funds, this is how it's gonna be done.
Yeah.
I love the direction that Tesca was taking it. And I'd love to see the final results of that, if we could ever get it to that point. And if it takes a year or so for us to be able to afford to pay for it ourselves, so be it. But I'd rather have it done the way we want it done than have somebody else dictate to us how we're gonna do it because we're using their money. Keep your money.
Yeah, and how far did Tesca get?
We were $6,000 into
Into
the
it.
state pulled the plug.
So we're different phases, right?
We were just in the
Just the infancy.
data acquisition phase is all we were at. And we pulled the plug at $6,000, and we paid them, and that's done. And if we go with a CMAP thing, we'd have to start from scratch because it would probably be a new process. But that's entirely up to you guys what you wanna do. I'm conflicted myself, but I have no problem keeping the plan we have for another year and discuss at budget time, when we have time to think about it, whether we wanna go for CMAPs around next year in June. Because right now, we have to decide tonight, because the deadline is Thursday. And I can do an app by Thursday, that's not a problem, I'll get an app in there by Thursday. But I don't wanna rush this board into a decision that it's gonna regret saying, boy, that's really not the plan we want.
Hey, my opinion would be, I think we should have a wait and see, and then we're still trying to get our $6,000 back. If we get our $6,000 back, why can't they return that around and let Tesco do $6,000 more?
Do a little plan.
Or an update, you know, from what we had before.
You guys,
Yeah, no, I would just assume that.
wait,
I don't think it's urgent enough where we have to jump on it.
Okay, that is my report.
public safety, trustee Paul.
Police Department monthly report is enclosed for your review. Code enforcement monthly report is also enclosed for your review. Very impressive, I might add. Consider an ordinance adopting an amended emergency response plan for the village. Excuse me. The last update from 2011 has been updated with a 2015 date. Many of the players on the phone numbers have been changed, along with some of the NIMS guidance procedures. We have also streamlined the vendors list of high priority items, since technology today will assist with locating the proper materials and equipment to respond to an incident. Once this ordinance is approved, you will receive an electronic version of the plan with which Donna Rooney has been working on for the last year and a half.
Well, I have to laugh because Marcy did the last rewrite of it. It's a beast, is it not?
Yes, it is.
It's a beast.
I want to make a motion to adopt ordinance number
1227.
Ordinance 1227, adopting an amended emergency response plan for the village.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor, a second. Any questions on motion? Roll call.
Caprows,
Yes.
Whalen,
Yes.
Coleman,
Yes.
Basil,
Yes.
Meyer.
Yes.
Consider an ordinance creating new noise regulations for the village. In reviewing the municipal code as it pertains to beer garden operations, it was noticed that only construction noise was regulated in the village outside of a general nuisance violation. The attorney has drafted the enclosed ordinance, which gives the police department some guidance as to what is and what is not a validation in the village. Basically, we are legislating common sense here, but there is always someone who wishes to.
C. Not we.
Oh, I see. I wondered about that.
C.
See in writing what the code says about the alleged violation. Please read the enclosed ordinance. There is also dB meters on smartphones that can measure sound.
We realized when we did the beer garden special use permit that there was no guidance for the police department in the construction noise ordinance regarding just general noise, parties, what have you. And I guess I'll ask the chief, is this an ordinance that you could live with? Is this acceptable as far as enforcing? Or?
Well, Mr. Kuiper did an excellent job when he drafted that. You know, my only concern on that would be the decibel meters, whether just using one downloaded on a smartphone would test the waters in court, whether if somebody did push it to that level, or would we have to actually invest in a meter. And so I'm kind of undecided on that. I mean, I downloaded the app, and when I cough or sneeze, I'm hitting 70 decibels. I wouldn't want a ticket when I
You're a loud
cough.
sneezer.
I'm like, that's pretty loud. But yeah, it gives us guidance, but we have to remember that, especially during the 4th of July, when we grant permits on that, we're allowing it. I mean, it's going to exceed that noise level. During the 4th of July, Tractors for a Cure, when they're out there, it's going to be loud. It's like an outdoor concert.
But that's in the park.
Right.
And that's a publicly approved event.
Okay, as long as everybody understands that.
This ordinance is being written for those circumstances where there might be a party that goes beyond a certain hour in the evening and it's really loud, and instead of the officer just saying this is a general nuisance, he actually has an ordinance he can point to and say,
Right.
here is the noise ordinance, you're violating the noise ordinance.
Yeah, I can live with it.
And that could be true with the beer garden or anything else that might happen.
Sure.
Any other comments? I'd like to consider an ordinance number
1228.
1228, creating new noise regulations for the village. Second.
There's a motion on the floor, and a second. Any questions on motion? Roll call.
Meyer,
Yes.
Basil,
Yes.
Coleman,
Yes.
Whaling,
Yes.
Caprows.
Yes.
Aaron.
Comments from the chief?
We're closing in, we'll be finishing up our dog tag ordinance, so I just want to remind everybody, if you forgot to be at your dog tag, make sure you get it, because enforcement will be coming very shortly here. We're planning already, we've been planning for the 4th of July, but we're getting closer to the nitty gritty. We've got 15 radios, we already got those for Motorola, the Starcoms to use for the 4th. And right now, we got a commitment from Will County Auxiliary. Looks like we might have 5 to 6 officers and 2 additional squads. And that's all I have. If anybody had any questions on the police report or the code report.
I think it was an excellent code enforcement day. We're
Yeah.
62.
Oh,
He was
excellent.
busy.
Excellent, chief.
He was busy.
Excellent. Any questions of the chief or myself? If not, that concludes my report.
Public Works Committee should be first.
Water Department and Sewer Department monthly reports are in course for your review. Leak detection update, buddy.
Okay, well, the first thing I'd like to discuss is, it's kind of been brought to my attention, I'm gonna try to keep this, very briefly in case, there's been a big discussion, to my knowledge, that, up on Ash Street, there seems to be some sort of confusion that the leak that we have just finished repairing has been leaking for quite a few years, and I can reassure you by all means that was not the case. I mean, we had three different professional tests done out there on that service line that was leaking, and there was no leaks on it. Jonathan and I went back at a different point in time, we were checking chlorine residuals, we didn't find it. One of the ways we did find that leak on Ash Street was when the police chief called me, I think it was in February, March, when that blew out, and we had all that water on the golf course. At that point in time, I took chlorine residuals and I literally was crawling through the storm system looking for the leaks, okay? And in the meantime, we were also, you seen I brought in that earpiece, I was also listening to service lines to hear what we could find. And we came up to an empty lot which was by Minotti's. That service line had blown apart underneath the road, which is why we made a decision, that we'd shut it off, we dug it up at the B-box, or at the water main and shut it off. And the type of fittings that they had used at that point in time were not really the kind that we used. They were flared, we use compression fittings now. At exactly what place it blew out under the road, I can't tell you, I abandoned it, but it was pretty close, I would say within 15 to 20 feet of the B-box on the empty lot. So I do want you to understand that, this leak that was there that we found had not been leaking there for 3 years. And I just want to be able to clarify that. There's a couple other places that are up there. I brought Mr. Barber up there, and like I said before, it's monotonous, it's tedious. Every one of them service lines up there that are bent over backwards are going to have to be straightened out and listened to, because the ones we did find, usually when the developer would build that on a discharge side of it, they should put a piece of pipe on the back of it so that if it's shut, no water is going to leak in it. If for some reason that somebody runs over it, crushes it, and the water goes through it, it's going to leak underground. And there's nothing we can do about it until it surfaces. And sometimes, there's a million field tiles up there. It might be leaking into a sanitary line or a trench line or some other void that is almost impossible for us to find. And that's the problem that we have. But I want to reassure this village board that I really, I take the water system very, very personal when it comes to that. And I'm not happy with where I was 7 years ago with the amount of water that we had to where we're at right now. And it is an ongoing thing, and I do think about it daily. And I'm doing the best that I can. With that,
So you're stating that the water that went into Minotti's sump pit did not come from 11?
no, that did not. It was a completely different. We did chlorine residuals, Bob. We had Simpson out there 2 different times. No, when that water popped out there, it was the service line that blew. It was not from going into Minotti's. It was completely a different area. I mean, if there's any questions, or maybe I hadn't explained myself properly before, I'm not the greatest speaker sometimes, but if anybody has any questions, I'd be glad to tell you, or help explain it. Other than that, leak detection is a continued thing.
Water main replacement charge rate increase reminder. The committee would like to remind everyone of the water rate increase effective with the July water bills, which is a $1 per 1,000 gallons for water main replacement and an additional $1 per 1,000 gallons for over 30,000 gallons of usage per billing for O&M of the system. These increases were what we approved on May 11th. Asphalt restoration update, I did see they were done. I saw them over the weekend. I believe they're done now, right?
I came in here said, well, the next billing period you're gonna get, I neglected, I don't know how it happened, but there was 2 that were on Penfield. So you will be getting another bill for 2 other patches. But to the best of my knowledge, everything is done except for the curb that I'm having them pour at the police station.
Fairway Drive resurfacing update, Bob?
Yeah, they should be, we're waiting for the pre-con meeting to start the job. At this point, I almost have, usually wait till after the 4th, but we'll take one there.
Yeah. ComEd's 2014 annual report is enclosed for your review. Village's application for stormwater discharge, our MS4 permit from the IEPA is enclosed for your review. This is just an annual process. Consider a resolution regarding village work in state rights of way and the assurance of property safety procedures and restorations. This is a 2-year agreement that we signed with IDOT that allows us to work in there right away. So we got a
2015-07.
2015-07. So I'll make a motion to approve the resolution 2015-07.
Second.
Motion on the floor and a second. Any questions of the motion? Roll call.
Caprows,
Yes.
Whaling,
Yes.
Coleman,
Yes.
Basil,
Yes.
Meyer.
Yes.
Consider a formal parkway tree planting policy for residents. In the past, we have required that only the village could plant trees in the parkway. We are now more than 3 years behind on our list, and the list is growing due to the ash borer, as we spoke about earlier. Many towns have now allowed residents to plant their own trees. There are many residents that just, this is the way it is they don't want to wait the 3-4 years for us to have the money and the ability to plant new trees for them after we take them down. What this policy would do is it would allow the residents, if they are willing, and they don't want to wait, they want to pay for their own tree, as long as it's within our list of trees and it's to the size that we require, we would allow them to plant the trees. Has everyone had a chance to look at the policy? Does anyone have any questions on it?
My question is, I think the policy says a tree must be 5 feet from the sidewalk. Is that how I read that? That would put that thing pretty close to the curb, wouldn't it?
What does it say, 5 feet from the sidewalk? Oh, there, it does say 5 foot from any sidewalk and 10 feet from any driveway.
I guess it would
That's a good question, because you don't wanna put it too close to the sidewalk, because it
No, I
gives the heat to walk.
understand, yeah. I understand.
But at the same time, I think, what's the distance
Well,
between curb and a
Bob,
public walk, 7 feet?
Yeah, it's 7 feet, but Bob, you and I had this discussion that this was not gonna be a perfect resolution. Every one of these trees that would be planted, I believe that would be on a case-by-case basis, Ron, that they would come, and then we would, approve the tree that they would pick, because there's a list of trees, and then we would go and make sure that they had the ability to plant that tree in that parkway. I mean, because there's gonna be utilities, gas, water mains, sanitary mains, and a few other issues, and so sidewalks, B-boxes also. So we knew it wasn't gonna be perfect, but it was probably one of the best ones that we could find, or that Bob had found that would work with us.
Do you think the number of trees, say, what, 13 different kinds? Isn't that kind of an exaggerated list?
Well,
We stole them from Naperville, Ron,
Oh, did we?
this is what
Yeah.
they allow. And they have an arborist, they actually have an arborist division in their public works department, so I hope they know what they're doing.
I tell you what, too, I like that was one thing I did notice about the policy, and I appreciated it and liked it, in the hopes that we won't run into the problem where we have 400 ash trees dying at one time.
No.
I like the,
Yeah.
I like
No.
the variety of trees that people can plant to where it's not one of five, and then all of a sudden, some crazy Japanese beetle bug thing comes around and whacks out, 50% of the village's trees in one swoop. That was one thing I liked
You
about
think
it.
we would've learned our lesson with Dutch elm disease when they took out all the elms? But the ash tree was a great, fast-growing, cheap tree, everyone was planting it now. Ash borer tomato,
Suggestion, on item number 1, the last sentence, strike that, and maybe that should be that the tree,
Center?
should be planted. Well, no,
Between the
because I
sidewalk
think
and the curb?
even that, each case could be different, so what I'm getting at is maybe there should be an application, we approve it, and then we approve the location, is what I'm getting at. Because each case is different.
Prior
Yeah,
to them
this-
buying the trees.
Yes,
Right,
yes,
this could be
yeah,
a mess
yeah.
if it's not,
That's what I think we should do it that way, because that's what he said, that basically they would file an application before the tree is purchased, okay, and then we would approve the tree and the site
In the location.
and the location.
And just strike number 1, that all locations must be pre-approved by,
Well, the first sentence is okay, it's after the second sentence, strike that,
okay.
and then everything must be approved by application, which will include the location and type of tree.
Yeah, just location that must be.
all tree locations must be approved by public works department.
Prior to purchase.
What's prior to planting?
Well, they don't wanna purchase the tree and find out that there's utilities and everything else that they can't put,
I guess.
you know what I mean?
I ran into that memorial tree where they wanted it on a certain place, it just couldn't be done. Or, I was like, you know,
when they kept dying?
kept dying, yeah, well, yeah, there's who knows what underneath it, electrical and utilities.
Well, that's the other issue too. ComEd has restrictions as to what type of tree, you're not even supposed to plant any trees under power lines anymore.
It says all tree locations must be approved by public works department prior to purchasing and planting of the tree. So that's all covered.
Yeah.
He's asking for a motion to support the policy.
Yeah. I'll make a motion to approve, which would it be? This would be.
You're just approving a policy, it's not a resolution
To
or.
perform, I'll make a motion to approve the Parkway tree planting policy
As amended.
as amended.
Second.
Motion on the floor and second, any questions or motion? Everybody understand the one addition?
Excuse me, with these trees, we can't buy them at Kmart or something like that. These trees would be purchased from a garden center or authorized. Some of these, places sell trees and, nobody knows a thing about them or, like a variety store or, even Menards, they have trees out there in the parking lot. Would that be,
I think if it meets the specifications, I don't know if we can really tell people where they can buy their trees from. As long as it meets our specifications of a 2.5-inch caliper and 7 feet in height. I don't know if we can really tell them where they can or can't buy something from.
Well, let me ask this question, Ron. Are you saying that if someone buys a tree from Menards and plants it out there and it dies, the village is not liable for the death or disease of that tree? I could
if
see.
if they plant the tree on the parkway, it becomes our tree, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right. So then if it dies,
we
we
would just,
have to,
we would take it out. We wouldn't replace it because the same policy would be in place.
They'd be right
It's
back
died,
on the
we'll
list.
take it out, we'll put them on the list. If they don't wanna wait 3 years, then they can try again.
Start all over.
What we want to avoid is someone planting a little spindly thing out in the yard.
I understand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Roll call.
Meyer,
Yes.
Basil,
Yes.
Coleman,
Yes.
Wheeling,
Yes.
LeBron.
Yes.
Economic Development, trustee Bailey.
Hey, communication policy established for the village officials and staff. For the last several months, the staff has been working on a cohesive internal communication policy that explains how Nixle, CodeSphere, the smartphone application, Facebook, and then the village website are to be used in this current day of instant communication. The village cannot have one official saying something on Facebook when another says something different over a smartphone push notification. We believe we have created a policy that will work well for the village. The policy is included in the packet. Any questions?
It seem okay to you, Marcy? What you read?
Yeah.
Okay. I want to say one thing, as long as we're on Nixle. We were at a Chamber of Commerce meeting last Monday night, there were 50 people in the room, Greg, I would say. And the tornado, I guess there was one in Wilmington or Simmerton coming this way. And I had the Nixle app, and I was the first phone, and then only 50 people had went off. So I knew about it before anyone else, because I was signed up with Nixle. So if you want to know about tornadoes and stuff, go to the Beecher, Village of Beecher website and sign up for Nixle, because it does work. It's that fast, lightning fast.
Oh, yeah, I have it too, and
Yeah.
it works good. Okay, Gold Street building update. It's our understanding that Mr. Bill Salzman has purchased up the street and Teapot building in addition to the old Weinhofer hardware store. The hardware store has been blueprinted and permitted for a ceramic art center and a living unit. The Teapot and up the street building are planned for remodeling in the future for a resident/bar venue. The two buildings may even be joined by a common hallway. Since the sale has just occurred, this is all we know at this time. Rinky Cafe inquiry. The village staff met with the representatives of Rinky Cafe Inc., who expressed an interest in location along Dixie Highway. They build small restaurants with beer and wine and have 5 video poker machines. They serve breakfast, lunch, sandwiches for dinner. We also asked them to consider gourmet coffee. This type of business meets all zoning and business regulations and would be under the jurisdiction of the Will County Health Department. The liquor commissioner would have to consider the beer and wine license.
I think the business plan works. I mean, I don't know if you've seen these before, but the one that was presented to us was kind of more of an upscale one than some of the other ones I've seen. They actually included another couch lounge area for people just to sit. They offer Wi-Fi, free Wi-Fi in there, so.
They actually had their menu already made. It's not the first one he's had. He's been in business. He owns quite a few businesses.
Sounds like something nice for the village.
From what I understand, he did pick up the applications for the permits. That's what I thought I heard.
I didn't give them to you.
He did, but he didn't submit his building permit yet.
Right, he just picked up the application.
Yeah, I received anything.
That concludes my report.
Don't really have anything new about the golf course, except that we did meet with the, what the prospective manager will be, who will be, and the owner, who is affiliated with Duckaway. And once again, I'm very encouraged by what he said. He's still hoping to open up within 6 weeks if the rain ever stops. But I think they have a lot of plans. They're looking to fix everything, get it going, and from what I understand, they're actually mowing it differently now.
That I can't verify, but I heard.
We heard that through the grapevine.
Are they mowing it, or they still don't have
I believe I saw Desiderios, which is the company, still there. I think I saw their truck there today, as a matter of fact. But somebody mentioned to us that the fairways were being mowed differently, but like Bob said, I haven't either, whether that's accurate or not. But they still have, they still hope to open this year. The Chamber of Commerce still hopes to have its golf outing there this year. I was encouraged by, what they said. And then they said that they're gonna share between the two golf courses some resources. not all, but some. They hope to bring in an upscale banquet hall, utilize what hasn't been utilized over the years. So it sounds very promising, like we thought. Skip down to the appointments. Everything else is self-explanatory for the most part. The appointments that I did not make at last meeting, I'd like to make tonight, and after I read these, if someone would make a motion, if you'll concur. Chief of Police Jeff Weisgerber, Public Works Superintendent Harold Bud Cowger, Building Department Services Independent Inspections, which is also known as the other company's name.
Yeah, I don't know, I might change that to Safeco, because I think that company's gone now.
Yeah, we're not sure.
Why don't we put Safeco in parentheses there?
Okay. The deputy treasurer, this is something a little new. When we read the ordinance, we realized that in order for the Nelson to continue as the 4th of July treasurer, he would have to be a deputy treasurer of the village. So I would ask that we appoint him for that purpose and that purpose only. He would have the title of deputy treasurer for the purpose of the 4th of July only. Eastcom Board of Directors, myself and Bob would be the alternate. Planning and Zoning Commission Secretary Patty Meyer. Joint Fuel Committee would be myself and Bob. Village Engineer would remain Baxter and Woodman. But as we know, our projects that we come up with, engineers would be determined on a case-by-case basis. The Planning and Zoning Commission, Trustee Aaron would still be the liaison, which I failed to put that on there. Paul Woman, Althea McTemus, Bill Hearn would be the new member to replace Lance Soller. Phil Service, George Scudema, Dennis Tadgenhorst, Kevin Bouchard. Beautification Commission is Gail Arendt, who would be the liaison, Steve Weishauer, Georgia Bradovich, Jessica Trecco, which is a new member, Andrew Arendt, Melissa Ohlendorf, Sandy Lohman, Paula Weishauer, Paul Lohman, Gene Smith, Christine Coates, and Amy Smith. 4th of July Commission, Brad Coates, Ron Coleman would be the liaison between the village and the 4th of July Commission, Jonathan Kaporis, Jerry Meyer, Patty Meyer, Joe Gardner, Kevin Bouchard, Larry Cox, Bill Voss, Chuck Hain, Greg Ohlendorf, Dawson Collins, Bruce Becker, Marcy Meyer, Barb Hodgett, Steve Kane, Bob Barber, Laura Voss, and Georgia Bradovich. There is one vacancy on that commission. The Youth Commission, Trustee Kapuris will remain as the village liaison, Kyle Mose, Elizabeth Delgado, Terry Caspit, Heather Graham, Trish Moran, Brandy Flores, Laura Irwin, Ben Jones, Jeanette Jost, and Roger Sippel from the Police Department will be the ex officio member. Historic Preservation Commission, this is something new. Scott Whalen would be the village liaison. Virginia Bath, Ken Howmeister, Don Sala, and Arnie Cooper would be members of those, and there are still some vacancies on that commission as well. River to Hope Commission, Frank Basil would be the liaison. Dean Bettenhausen, Barbara Hodgett, Myra Kosis, Mike Spanula, Howard Perry, Chris Samansky, and Susan Sebastian.
You can't even say your own name.
I'd like to make a motion to approve these appointments.
There's a motion on the floor, there's a second. Any questions on motion? Roll call.
Caprows,
Yes.
Whaling,
Yes.
Coleman,
Yes.
Basil,
Yes.
Meyer. Yes.
Thank you. Something that's not on the list, our state representative LG Sims will be holding office hours on July 30th here at the Village Hall, between 10 to 12. It would be nice that anybody who can come and visit. Residents as well, if you want to come and visit, talk to our state representative,
What times?
10 to 12. We gotta remind him that he moved.
Has he been here? No, he hasn't.
Yes, he has.
Has he-
He was here for the open house.
Oh, was he?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
he
you're
was.
You're right.
July 30th, 10 to 12.
We'll be getting a brochure, this was just brought up today. And with that, I'd like to ask that we go into executive session to discuss pending litigation on 2 separate cases. Afterwards, I don't think there will be any action whatsoever.
So I'll make a motion to go into executive session to discuss pending
Second.
litigation.
Under discussion of that motion, I have one item to discuss publicly before we go into executive session. There's a house going up on Forest Lane. The house has some front brick on it, but there is an understanding among some of the people that built in that subdivision that it was supposed to be all first floor brick. That was a requirement of one of the builders out there that was foreclosed on, and it's not recorded as such. There was discussion at the P&Z meeting back in '05 or '06 when that subdivision was platted, that he intended to file a covenant that first floor brick would be required. But that was not part of annexation agreement, that was part of the original Lang farm where, it was just a simple rezoning of property from ag to R1. So we had no legal, ability to require, architectural standards with that part of the subdivision because it was a straight rezoning of property, it was not a negotiated annexation. That being said, he still said that he would do that. That was 5 builders ago. Since Chuck Rudy, we had Ron Reichert, we had Landover, we had Sligo 5, and now we have First Bank of Countryside that's in those 60 lots. The one lot on Forest that's being built is a ranch home, 3 sides vinyl, the front has brick on it. And that has raised a level of concern. I have no legal basis to stand on and require first floor brick. I've looked. We are also struggling with the legal basis for getting the NHOA formed for the maintenance of the dry basin retention pond. That's another issue we have out there. But the people that have asked me, what can we do? I said, well, the only thing the village board can do is pass an ordinance requiring brick, but it would have to be village-wide. You just can't target a neighborhood and say, brick in that neighborhood. So I just want to bring that to your attention, because you're probably going to hear about it.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor and there was a second. Have a roll call, please.
Meyer,
Yes.
Basil,
Yes.
Coleman,
Yes.
Whaling,
Yes.
Caprows.
Yes.
Adjourn the executive session.